On a clear day on Capitolus Prime, the bustling capital of the Galactic Empire, children's laughter echoed through the Jaron Plaza, an expansive area surrounded by towering silver structures shimmering under the dual suns. Theo, a lively 7-year-old with tousled brown hair and bright green eyes, was chasing a holographic ball, his laughter rising above the city's usual hum. Commander Marcus Vale, retired but still imposing in stature, watched his son from a nearby cafe. Marcus sipped his drink slowly, enjoying a rare moment of peace, his eyes occasionally scanning the area, a habit from his days in the service. Nearby, the plaza was a hive of activity with vendors, citizens, and tourists mingling freely under the watchful eyes of security drones. Without warning, a security drone, its sleek design usually a symbol of safety, began to malfunction. It whirred erratically, its sensors flashing red as it descended rapidly towards the crowd. People screamed and scattered, but Theo, absorbed in his game and laughing with delight, didn't notice the danger. Marcus, recognizing the immediate threat, leapt from his seat, his instincts as a father and a soldier kicking in simultaneously. He dashed towards Theo, his heart pounding, shouting his son's name. But the drone was descending too fast. It struck the ground mere meters from where Theo played, the impact sending a shockwave through the plaza. Shrapnel flew in all directions and a piece hit Theo, knocking him to the ground. The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus reached Theo in seconds, falling to his knees beside his son. Theo was unconscious, blood trickling from a wound on his head. Marcus lifted Theo into his arms, his training providing a grim diagnosis even before medics could arrive. As emergency services swarmed the area, Marcus held Theo tightly, whispering promises of safety he could no longer keep. The drone, he learned later, was a casualty of the Empire's relentless push towards automated law enforcement, a system supposed to protect them, now responsible for an irreplaceable loss. Theo's wake was held under the sprawling canopies of the Serenity Gardens, a place once filled with his joyful laughter and relentless curiosity. Now, its beauty was overshadowed by the somber gathering of friends, family, and a few former comrades of Marcus who had come to pay their respects. The air was heavy with a mixture of floral scents and quiet murmurs, the atmosphere respectful yet charged with a subtle tension. Marcus stood by the simple, holographic memorial displaying images of Theo, his bright smile at his 5th birthday, his intense concentration as he built his model ships, and his infectious joy at his first hoverball game. Each image was a dagger to Marcus's heart, a reminder of what had been taken from him, not just by fate, but by a negligent empire. Lieutenant Sarah Knox, a tall woman with a scar tracing down her left cheek, a memento from battles fought alongside Marcus, approached quietly. Her expression was a mixture of sorrow and steely determination. "Marcus," she began, her voice soft yet firm, "this was not just a tragic accident. It's a symptom of a system that values progress over people." Marcus nodded, his jaw clenched as he turned to face her. "I know, Sarah. And their apologies, they mean nothing. They sent a message, automated like their drones, expressing their deepest condolences, as if that could ever be enough." Sarah placed a hand on his shoulder, her gaze meeting his. "What are you planning to do?" she asked, though part of her already knew the answer. "I can't let this go, Sarah. Theo, he deserves better. All our children do," Marcus said, his voice a mix of grief and emerging resolve. "I'm thinking of reactivating the Cryo initiative." Sarah's eyebrows raised in surprise, but her nod was approving. "The super soldiers? Marcus, they were decommissioned for a reason. Bringing them back could lead to—" "Exactly what we need," Marcus interjected, "a force that can challenge the Empire's tyranny. The system is broken, and I intend to fix it." Around them, the mourners continued to pay their respects, unaware of the conversation that could alter the course of their lives. Sarah looked around, then back at Marcus. "If you're sure, I'm with you, but we need a plan, something solid. We can't just wage a war based on anger." "Then let's start by waking our old team. They deserve to know why, and they deserve to choose if they want to fight again," Marcus proposed. The thought was terrifying as much as it was invigorating. These were people they had fought with, people who had been preserved in time, untouched by the years that had wearied Marcus and Sarah. Sarah nodded, a mix of apprehension and excitement in her eyes. "All right, let's do it. For Theo. For all the children of this galaxy." Under the cover of night, Marcus and Sarah infiltrated the military complex, a sprawling facility located on the outskirts of the capital city. The complex was surrounded by high-security fences and patrolled by drones similar to the one that had killed Theo, a constant reminder of the stakes at hand. They moved silently through the shadows, evading the occasional security light sweeping over the dark grass. Both were dressed in black, their movements a testament to years of training and missions that hadn't quite left their muscle memory. Reaching the Cryo Initiative wing was easier than expected. The security measures seemed almost symbolic, as if the Empire had grown complacent in its dominance. The wing itself was dusty and neglected, a relic of a time when human soldiers were more valuable than automated systems. Inside, rows of cryogenic pods lined the cold, dimly lit hall. Each pod was a capsule of hope and potential fury, housing the elite soldiers who had once turned the tide of countless battles across the galaxy. Marcus approached the control panel, his fingers hesitating for a moment before they flew across the surface, initiating the revival sequence. Sarah watched the monitors intently as life signs flickered back to activity. "It's working," she breathed, a mixture of awe and fear in her voice. One by one, the pods began to hiss and steam as internal systems recalibrated to bring their occupants back to consciousness. The first pod opened, and a man with graying hair and a scarred face stepped out. He looked around, disoriented, before his eyes fixed on Marcus. "Commander Vale?" he asked, his voice raspy from disuse. "Captain Logan Steele," Marcus replied, stepping forward to offer a hand. "Welcome back." Logan took his hand, his grip firm as his mind cleared. "What's the situation, Commander?" Marcus explained the tragedy of Theo, the negligence of the Empire, and the need for their intervention. As he spoke, more pods opened, revealing men and women who had been his brothers and sisters in arms. The reunited team gathered around, listening intently. Each face mirrored the same resolve that had once made them legends. Among them was Dr. Jenna Miles, a brilliant tactician who was the last to emerge. She adjusted the medical scanner on her wrist, then locked eyes with Marcus. "If we're doing this, we need a plan that doesn't just make a statement but cripples their ability to ever let this happen again." The group moved to an old briefing room, dusting off the table and firing up the holographic projector. The map of the galaxy spun slowly in the air above them as they plotted their first move. "Our first target should be the communications hub on Dallara 4, Jenna suggested. "It's the nexus for all military and drone communications throughout the Empire. If we take it down, we create chaos and buy ourselves the time we need to strike more critical targets." Marcus nodded, feeling the old thrill of strategy and combat. "Let's prepare. We strike at dawn, for Theo, for justice, and for the future of the galaxy." As they planned, Marcus felt a surge of hope. These were the people who could truly make a difference. Together, they had a chance not just for revenge but for real change. In a secluded base on the fringe of the Callidian sector, Marcus's team assembled, ready to initiate their mission against the Galactic Empire. The hideout was an old, abandoned outpost from the war days, reclaimed and repurposed for their current needs. Its walls, scarred by past skirmishes, now sheltered the group as they plotted their resurgence. Marcus stood at the head of the long, crude metal table, his gaze sweeping over the team. Familiar faces, each hardened by cryo-sleep, and the abrupt awakening into a reality they had not imagined. "We're not just here to avenge Theo. We're here to prevent his fate from befalling anyone else under the Empire's rule," he declared, his voice resolute. Sarah Knox was beside him, her datapad glowing with tactical maps and potential targets. "Our plan involves a series of strikes designed to systematically dismantle the Empire's infrastructure. This will disrupt their operations and diminish their control," she explained, her finger tracing routes and points on the map. The room buzzed with the energy of rekindled camaraderie and shared purpose. Jenna Miles, now effectively their chief strategist, elaborated on the targets. "After the communications hub on Dallara 4, We'll need to hit their fuel depots on Tyrannus, and then the drone manufacturing facility on Cestus. Each strike will be a blow to their capabilities and their morale. As plans were laid out, equipment checked, and roles assigned, the old bonds of trust and mutual respect were visibly strengthening. They were more than a team. They were a family reunited under dire circumstances, each member driven by a personal stake in the mission's success. Marcus took a moment to meet with each member individually. "I know this isn't the future we envisioned waking up to, but I need to know you're all in for the right reasons," he said. Each soldier, from the youngest to those like Logan Steele who had seen countless battles, reassured him of their commitment. As the meeting drew to a close, a new member, an expert in drone technology named Eli Vasquez, presented a custom device. "I've developed a scrambler capable of hijacking drone controls. It could give us the edge we need on the ground." The team leaned in, intrigued and hopeful. "Let's test it on the field," Logan suggested, always the one to bridge plans with action. Marcus nodded in approval. "We strike at dawn. Prepare yourselves. Check your gear and get some rest. Tomorrow, we begin taking our fight to the heart of the Empire." The group dispersed, moving with the efficiency and silence of a shadow. Each member reviewed their equipment, loaded weapons, and checked the integrity of their combat suits. In their midst, Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose, not just as a leader, but as a father seeking justice in the memory of his son. That night, the base was quiet, but charged with an undercurrent of anticipation. They were the ghosts of a war long thought over, now resurrected for a cause that could change the galaxy. As Marcus looked over the maps once more, he knew that each step forward was a step closer to either monumental change or profound loss. Either way, he was ready to lead them through it. The darkness of early morning cloaked the team as they approached Dallara 4, a moon orbiting a gas giant in a critical strategic location. The communications hub there coordinated all military communications across the quadrant. Taking it down was essential to crippling the Empire's response capabilities. Marcus, Sarah, Jenna, and Eli, along with a squad of 6 others, disembarked from their stealth craft a few kilometers from the hub. The facility loomed in the distance, its silhouette stark against the lighter sky as dawn approached. Its exterior was fortified, with patrol drones buzzing periodically overhead. Eli handed out the drone scramblers. "These should give us a 10-minute window without detection. After that, you can expect heavy resistance," he warned. The team nodded, understanding the tight time frame they were working within. They advanced in 2 squads, Marcus leading the first. They moved swiftly but cautiously through the rugged terrain, using the natural rock formations as cover. As they neared the hub, Sarah deployed the scrambler. Immediately, the patrolling drones glitched and veered off course, their control systems disrupted. "This is it," Marcus whispered into his comms. "Move in." The team breached the perimeter, using a series of controlled explosives that blasted a hole through the outer wall. They poured into the facility, their movements a blend of precision and urgency. Inside, they encountered minimal personnel. Most were still unaware of the breach due to the scrambled communications. Jenna and 2 others headed to the main control room to plant explosives, while Marcus and the rest took on the task of securing the evacuation route. Gunfire erupted as they encountered a squad of security officers. The exchange was brief and fierce, but the team's superior training prevailed. With the control room secured, Jenna set up the charges. "Charges are set to blow in 15 minutes. We need to be clear before then," she reported, her voice steady despite the adrenaline. As they retreated, the facility's alarms finally began to blare, a delayed reaction caused by their initial technological sabotage. The team hastened their escape, navigating back through the hole they had created. Behind them, the hub was a maze of confusion and delayed responses. They were nearly a kilometer away when the charges detonated. A massive explosion lit up the dawn, the sound echoing across the barren landscape. The communications hub was engulfed in flames, its critical systems irreparably damaged. "First strike successful," Marcus confirmed over the comms, allowing himself a moment of satisfaction. "This is just the beginning." As they rendezvoused with their extraction craft, the reality of their mission settled in. They had struck a significant blow, but it was the first of many needed to dismantle the Empire's grip. The path ahead was fraught with danger, but the success of their first mission bolstered their resolve. For Theo, Marcus thought as the craft ascended, the burning facility shrinking below them. They were not just fighting for revenge, but for a future where such tragedies would never repeat. The destruction of the communications hub on Delara 4 sent shockwaves through the Galactic Empire. News of the attack spread rapidly, even as officials scrambled to restore and reroute their crippled networks. The Empire, shaken by the boldness and precision of the strike, realized that this was not a mere rebel skirmish, but a serious threat orchestrated by a capable and strategic enemy. In response, the Imperial Command convened an emergency session, resulting in the deployment of elite counterinsurgency units across the galaxy. These units, equipped with advanced tracking technology and commanded by the Empire's top tacticians, were tasked with a single objective: find and eliminate Marcus Vale and his team. As Marcus's group regrouped at their base, they monitored the Empire's movements closely. "They're mobilizing faster than we anticipated," Jenna noted, analyzing the incoming data on troop deployments. "We've definitely got their attention now." Sarah, reviewing tactical feeds, added, "And they're not just defending, they're actively hunting us. We've stirred up a hornet's nest, Marcus. We need to be ready for a direct confrontation." Marcus acknowledged the mounting risks. "We knew retaliation was inevitable. Our next moves must be even more strategic. We can't afford a direct fight, not yet. We need to hit them again, hard and fast, before they can consolidate their forces." The team planned their next operations with heightened urgency, targeting a series of smaller yet critical installations that were less guarded but equally important for the Empire's logistics and supply chains. Meanwhile, Marcus sent out scouts to gauge the enemy's movements and strength. Their second operation targeted an energy refinery on the industrial planet of Zephyra, crucial for fueling the Empire's war machines. The mission was executed with the same precision as the first, further disrupting the Empire's capabilities. However, this time, the Imperial forces were quicker to respond, and Marcus's team encountered significant resistance. During the skirmish on Zephyra, the team barely escaped, suffering minor injuries and a forced abandonment of some of their equipment. "They're adapting to our tactics," Logan pointed out as they debriefed back at the base. "Next time, they'll be even better prepared." As the team licked their wounds and planned their next steps, the Empire implemented a galaxy-wide broadcast. A stern-faced Imperial general appeared on screens across countless worlds, denouncing the attacks as acts of terrorism and vowing retribution. "These criminals will be brought to justice. Peace and order will be restored," the general declared, his message a clear warning to any who might sympathize with Marcus's cause. As Marcus's team planned their next operations, a shadow of unease settled over the group. Unbeknownst to Marcus, Captain Jonas Pike, one of his most trusted soldiers, harbored growing doubts about the escalating violence and the path they were on. Jonas had been a steadfast warrior, known for his calm under pressure and tactical acumen, but the constant clashes and the toll of their guerrilla warfare weighed heavily on him. He began to question whether their actions were only perpetuating the cycle of violence they sought to end. One evening, while the team discussed potential targets at their base, Jonas slipped away to a private comm station. With a heavy heart, he initiated a secure transmission to an Imperial contact. "I need to speak with General Arkin," he murmured into the communicator, his voice barely a whisper. General Arkin, recognizing Jonas's voice, responded with a mix of surprise and intrigue. "Captain Pike, to what do I owe this unexpected pleasure?" Jonas's resolve faltered for a moment, but he steadied his nerves. "I have information about Marcus Vale and his operations. I believe it could be beneficial to both sides to bring an end to this conflict," he said, his voice strained. The general, sensing an opportunity, pressed Jonas for details. Jonas outlined the planned attacks and their locations, proposing a ceasefire and negotiations. He believed he could convince Marcus to stand down in exchange for amnesty and a platform to address their grievances directly with the Imperial Senate. The next day, as the team prepared to depart for an assault on the drone manufacturing facility on Cestus, their convoy was ambushed by Imperial forces, It was a brutal and unexpected confrontation, with both sides suffering casualties. In the chaos, Marcus managed to rally his team, and they fought their way out of the encirclement. However, the cost was high. 2 team members were lost, and several others were wounded. Back at the base, as they regrouped and tended to the injured, Marcus confronted Jonas, having pieced together his betrayal from intercepted Imperial communications. "Why, Jonas? Why betray us?" Marcus demanded, his voice thick with betrayal and sorrow. Jonas, his expression tormented, met Marcus's gaze. "Because this isn't the way, Marcus. We're only making things worse. I thought if I could get them to talk, maybe we could end this without more bloodshed." Marcus, struggling to contain his anger, realized the deep division within his own ranks. "You've endangered everything we fought for, Jonas. And for what? A chance to chat with those who won't hesitate to eradicate us?" Jonas had no answer that could soothe the sense of betrayal. He was taken into custody by the team, his fate uncertain. The betrayal by Jonas Pike had shaken the team to its core, creating an atmosphere thick with suspicion and grief. Marcus, feeling the weight of leadership more heavily than ever, recognized the need to unify and inspire his group if they were to continue their fight against the Empire. In the aftermath of the ambush and Jonas's betrayal, the team retreated to a remote base on the icy planet of Varnus. Here, amid the stark, frost-covered landscape, they could lick their wounds and reassess their strategy without immediate threat of Imperial pursuit. Marcus called a meeting in the main hall of the outpost, a Spartan room lit by flickering lamps that cast long shadows on the walls. The cold outside was almost palpable inside, adding to the somber mood of the gathering. "As leader, I've asked a lot from each of you," Marcus began, his voice echoing slightly in the chilly air. "We've faced loss, deception, and now betrayal from within our own ranks. It's clear the Empire will stop at nothing to crush us, and we are at a critical juncture. We can choose to end our fight, or we can push forward, knowing the path will only get harder." He paused, looking around at the faces of his team, hardened by battle but weary from constant conflict. "But we are not just fighting for revenge. We are fighting for a future where no child will suffer as Theo did, where tyranny does not go unchecked. We fight for hope." Sarah stepped forward, her expression determined. "Marcus is right. What we've started isn't just about striking back. It's about making a stand for all those who can't. If the Empire is our enemy, then let our fight be our message, that tyranny breeds resistance." Jenna, still a strategist at heart, added, "We need to adapt, our tactics, our targets. Everything should be recalibrated. The Empire expects us to strike as we have before. We'll need surprise on our side." The team discussed new strategies, considering less direct, more disruptive tactics that could avoid further direct confrontations with the Empire's forces. They planned to sabotage supply lines, intercept critical data transmissions, and employ cyber attacks to unsettle the Empire's infrastructure. Marcus concluded the meeting with a call to action that rekindled the fire in their eyes. "This is more than a mission, it's our cause. Let's honor these we've lost by completing what we started. For Theo, for us, for the galaxy." As the team dispersed, there was a renewed sense of purpose. Despite the cold that seeped into every corner of their base, warmth spread through each member's heart. They prepared for their next actions, not just as soldiers, but as guardians of a future they still believed could be bright. The resolve hardened within Marcus as he watched his team ready themselves. They had reached their breaking point, but instead of breaking, they had bound themselves closer together, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead with a renewed spirit and sharpened focus. In the weeks following their regrouping on Varnus, Marcus's team executed a series of covert operations that slowly but effectively began to erode the Empire's power. Their tactics had shifted to guerrilla warfare, hitting unexpected targets and vanishing without a trace. The Empire, frustrated and increasingly paranoid, struggled to anticipate and counter these new strategies. Now Marcus knew it was time for their most ambitious and risky operation yet, a direct assault on the Imperial Palace itself, located on the capital planet of Capitolus Prime. The palace was not just a symbol of the Empire's authority, but also the center of its administrative and command operations. Before dawn, as the twin suns of Capitolus Prime began to hint at the horizon, Marcus's team, donned in stolen Imperial uniforms, infiltrated the city. The city was heavily fortified, buzzing with patrols and drones, but the recent chaos had stretched the Empire's resources thin, creating gaps that Marcus was prepared to exploit. The team split into groups, each tasked with creating diversions around the city to draw forces away from the palace. Explosions rocked distant districts, and false alarms blared from hacked security systems. As planned, these diversions siphoned off a significant portion of the palace guard. With the palace's defenses distracted, Marcus led the main assault team through a service entrance they had identified from stolen blueprints. They moved silently, neutralizing guards with precision takedowns, their presence still undetected as they navigated the labyrinthine corridors of the opulent palace. They reached the central command room, where the Emperor, a man more used to delegating than actual governance, was orchestrating responses to the chaos engulfing his capital. Marcus burst into the room, his team swiftly securing every exit. The Emperor, surrounded by his advisors, stood up in shock, his face paling as he saw the armed group before him. "What is the meaning of this? Guards!" he shouted, only to realize that no help would be forthcoming. Marcus stepped forward, his weapon trained on the Emperor. "No more guards to command, Your Highness, just us and the truth." "Mercy, please," the Emperor stammered, falling back into his throne. "I was misled by my advisors, by faulty intelligence. You must understand." "Misled or not, you presided over a system that killed innocents," Marcus replied coldly. "You're a figurehead for tyranny. Today, that ends." Outside, the sounds of battle echoed faintly as the team's diversions continued to draw attention away from the palace. Marcus communicated with his team via comlink, ensuring that all members were ready for the escape plan. "You don't have to do this," the Emperor pleaded, desperation creeping into his voice as he realized the gravity of his situation. "We do, for the countless lives lost, and for a future free from your Empire's oppression," Marcus said, signaling his team to begin their withdrawal. "This is not just an assassination. This is a revolution." With the palace secured and the Emperor under their control, Marcus's team broadcasted their final message across the galaxy, declaring the fall of the tyrant and calling for a new era of peace and justice.